collaborative legislation for inclusive and equitable development. As legislators, policymakers, and governance practitioners, we recognize that the true measure of democracy is not just in the laws that we pass, but in how those laws are made, who has a voice, whose concerns are heard, and how inclusive and participatory the process is. Legislation is not just a tool for governance, it is a social contract. It determines access to justice, economic opportunities, and the rights of the citizens who we represent. But for too long, policy making has often been shaped by a narrow set of voices, leaving behind those who are most affected by inequities. The marginalized communities, women, persons with disabilities, and those living in underserved regions that we represent. This is where collaborative legislation emerges as a transformative approach by engaging multiple stakeholders. And we collaborate at many different levels. We collaborate at a peer-to-peer level within our assemblies. We collaborate as representatives of different parliamentary groups. We collaborate externally with the civil society, with the citizens, non-government organizations. But we also collaborate regionally and globally. How do we institutionalize this approach of collaboration? I look forward to a thought-provoking discussion with our esteemed panelists who bring a wealth of experience in policy, governance, and legislative innovation. Let's hear from the speakers on a legislative culture that is not just for the people, but with the people. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome Right Honorable Nusrat Ghani, Member of Parliament from the House of Commons, who is also the Deputy Speaker of the House and the Chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, to formally initiate this plenary discussion with her keynote speech.
Well, thank you so much for your warm welcome, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with such a prestigious panel of speakers, and especially Ms. Zakia Shahnawaz Khan, who I am absolutely delighted to share a panel with you, Madam. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and participate. Many of you will know the Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, and many of you will know because he's probably visited your country or you've come through to the UK Parliament. But as someone who has a close link to this country, I had to pull a fast one over my boss and insist that I came to Pakistan to represent the UK Houses of Parliament. I'm also particularly pleased to be here as this is the first joint CPA Asia and Southeast Asia Regional Conference. The Commonwealth and the CPA are so important to the UK Parliament. Our chamber is a daily reminder of our links with countries around the world through the generous gifts presented in previous generations, and that relationship is reflected in our celebrations of Commonwealth Day as our welcome to many visitors from around the world. On an individual level, many parliamentarians have a strong constituency or personal links with the countries of the CPA Asia and the South Asia regions, and take a close interest in furthering interparliamentary relations with their counterparts in your legislative assemblies. And the CPA UK is actively engaged in working with the parliaments of Sri Lanka and Malaysia, for example, as well as here in our host country of Pakistan. And I know that many are looking to build on the great work that has been done in recent works with the Maldives, especially on the public accounts committees.
There's a small housekeeping note that has arrived. It is being broadcasted live on national television, and the audio system is there.
Okay.
So
hopefully this will provide better audio and visual, so I will then just carry on. So the CPA UK is keen to find further opportunities to cooperate with you all in areas such as parliamentary strengthening, support for our new members and areas of mutual diplomatic interest. So if you have any thoughts or would like to take that further, you will be pushing at an open door with the UK Parliament and parliamentarians. We at Westminster are also proud to be able to act as hosts for the wider CPA headquarters for many, many years. And it was a great moment for us when, after many years and efforts of negotiations, the UK Parliament finally passed the bill which makes the much-needed changes to the status of the CPA. It took us a while, and there was a moment back in May last year when it looked that all progress had been lost, but we definitely got there in the end. Let me give you a context of what we're working with in Westminster. I've been asked to share some experiences of our parliamentary initiatives around inclusivity, underrepresented groups, including women, youth and persons with disabilities and minorities. In the UK, there are 650 members of the House of Commons, each elected by first past the post in single-member constituencies. Today, many of these constituencies were regarded as safe seats from one of the main political parties. And recently, we have seen big swings between the parties at elections. For example, in the election just in last May, the House of Commons moved from a Conservative majority of 80 to a Labour majority of 174. There were also a number of other parties that gained seats, and for the first time, we have a group of members elected as independent MPs. One steady trend throughout is turbulence is that diversity among MPs has continued to grow, and we now have the most diverse House of Commons. 263 women were elected last year. That is 40% of the House. Clearly, we're still not at 50%, but it's worth reflecting that until December 2016, when my colleague Caroline Johnson was elected in a by-election, there had been fewer female MPs than there were ever men sitting in the House of Commons at any time. I myself, when I was elected in 2015, was only the 377th woman ever to be elected to the UK Houses of Parliament. We don't have official figures for ethnicity data, but I can tell you that those numbers are also increasing. There were 4 MPs from a minority ethnic background back in 1987. It is estimated that has risen to 66 in 2019 and is even higher now. We also had our first Prime Minister from an ethnic minority background, and currently have both a Foreign Secretary and the Leader of the Opposition from an ethnic minority background. So anyone looking at the House today sees a very different picture that they would have seen a decade ago. Myself, I mentioned I was the 377th MP to be elected, but I represent the Conservative Party, the oldest political party, and I was the first female Muslim MP elected for my party. And when I became a minister in 2018, in the mother of all parliaments, I became the first ever female Muslim minister in the UK Commons, and now as Deputy Speaker. And my post has existed since the 1400s. I am the first person that isn't white to take up the post of Deputy Speaker in the Commons, so progress has been made, even though I would say just most recently. Some differences are less visible, perhaps. Again, we don't have figures on MPs with disabilities. It is such a wide-ranging category, but certainly there are more members who are open to talk about their disabilities, and there is greater determination to make our proceedings accessible to all members, regardless of their needs. We also have a much more younger House of Commons. Last year, we had the baby of the House elected a Member of Parliament at the tender age of 22, and our oldest colleague, our oldest member, is 81 years young, and we refer to him as the grandfather of the House. Now, parliamentary initiatives. And getting to the position of diversity I've mentioned has been a result of changes in society and partly the result of initiatives by individual parties and other members. As a House, it is not possible for us to dictate who will be elected, and we can't do more than encourage more diverse groups of people to put themselves forward, but we make sure that the House of Commons is welcoming to everyone. But we have had some significant parliamentary initiatives to speed up examples. For example, in 2008, a Speakers' Conference was established to consider and make recommendations for rectifying the disparity between the representation of women, ethnic minorities and disabled people in the House of Commons and their representation in the UK population at large. Its final report in January 2010 made a number of wide-ranging recommendations. This included recommendations for each political parties on culture change and for government to make the legislative provision for unpaid leave or the right for flexible working for candidates seeking election to the Commons. The Commission report also recommended actions for the House of Commons to take, which led to us inviting the academic Sarah Charles to spend a year embedded in Parliament. Professor Charles' report on that year concluded, the report pushed forward 40 further recommendations on how the House of Commons could be more inclusive. It focused on making the Commons more gender sensitive, but many recommendations also addressed diversity more broadly. In a parallel step, in 2015, the House established a Women and Equalities Committee. In 2017 to 19, the committee undertook an audit of progress made on the recommendations made in the report back in 2010. The committee returned to the subject back in 2022 to consider further progress to be made in creating a more gender-sensitive Parliament, along with progress for support for MPs who are parents, such as proxy voting for new parents so they do not have to be in the chamber at very late night sittings. I also want to draw attention to our behaviour code backed by an independent complaints handling service. This was introduced in 2018 with the aim of ensuring that everyone felt safe on the parliamentary estate, an important change of image for Parliament itself, and making it clear that Parliament was a safe place of work for everybody. Of course, we spend a lot of time on public engagement and education because we know not everybody wants to be an MP, but we want Parliament to be open to them. So, for example, we do a lot of work through select committees, which we hold inquiries into topics of interest and ensure that experts come and give evidence to us. They make sure that this evidence is wide-reaching and does, in fact, affect in particular public policy and also ensures that government continues on the right track. The Education Committee, for example, will visit schools, and the Education and Trade Committee, which I was once a member on, will have conversations around trade, industrial strategy and also trade deals as well. It's also important for these committees to spread the word so they can get more experts to come in and give evidence and involve the public at large. What's important is that the reports these committees produce often lead to quite progressive government policy change in those areas. Citizens can also engage with legislation through submitting written evidence or giving oral evidence to these committees. And of course, they obviously influence parliamentary agenda through petitions. We host our own petitions website, and any petition receiving more than 100,000 signatures is considered for a debate in Westminster Hall. Any petition with more than 10,000 supporters receives a response straight from the government itself. To encourage engagement more widely, we have a participation team in Parliament which supports members in their work with schools, young people and the wider public, both at Westminster and across the UK. The team run events and meetings with a wide range of different groups to build understandings of Parliament and how it works. The flagship event is our annual Parliament Week, when we encourage groups and individuals to sign up to events nationwide, spreading the word about what Parliament is, what it does and how you can get involved. All those who sign up receive a free kit and are encouraged to register their activities so we know what is happening. Last year we had 17,000 activities and over 1.6 million people taking part in every nation in the United Kingdom. Like many of you here, I'm sure we are particularly keen on engaging with young people, and like many of you here, no doubt you feel that is an uphill struggle. To assist that goal, the UK Parliament runs its own education programme. We have a dedicated education centre where young people can meet parliamentary staff and politicians and learn about the UK parliamentary system before going on tour of the House of Commons. These opportunities are incredibly popular. In fact, when we recently opened up the next tranche of booking slots for schools, the demand was so widespread that the website crashed, and once the website was fixed, all the slots were booked immediately. For those already engaged, we also host the Youth Parliament in the Chamber once a year. It's always so impressive to see how these young people come together and listen to one another with huge respect, no matter how controversial that topic may be. And if any of you have visited the UK Parliament, you will know that it is a World Heritage Site. More than 1 million people visit each year from around the world, either on organised tours or visit the galleries to watch our debates take in real time. It's important for us to ensure the public can have access to our parliamentary estate, and it's an amazing opportunity to showcase the work of Parliament in many different ways. We try and encourage as many visitors to come from as many socio-economic backgrounds as they can. We understand that a report in itself will not change anything unless those recommendations are taken up and people return to that subject time and time again to ensure that they're evaluating what progress that they are making. It's incredibly important to us to have external experts to advise us how we can progress, which is why the bodies like the CPA and the IPU are so important. But MPs themselves are absolutely crucial in bringing in changes and making them stick. My former colleague Maria Miller, well known to many of you active in the CPA, was a powerhouse in lobbying for being the able chair of the Women and Equalities Committee in the Commons. And she was able to bring about change, in particular about ensuring that more parents could function within Parliament and to ensure that more women went forward to stand as MPs themselves. We're not really focused in the UK Parliament on setting quotas, but regardless, when women do stand for positions in Parliament, they do tend to win. I myself am the principal Deputy Speaker in Parliament. I have 2 further junior deputies, and both of those are women too, which tells you that out of the 650 MPs, they all voted for 3 female members to become Deputy Speakers. In conclusion, I'm sure that many of these activities you will have your own version of doing the work that we do. It's very important that we share our best practice and also become friendly criticism when we need to make sure we encourage other parliaments to be as progressive as they can. The reality is that getting people engaged in politics is a burden that we have to carry as elected officials, and the more that we can open up transparency, accountability and representation, the more we can credibly argue that our parliaments are the best way to represent public opinion and deliver public policy. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is an honor to have you here, and also the fact that Pakistani origin Muslim community is represented well in the UK. Now I would like to begin the panel discussion, but before I begin the panel discussion, I would like to request all my honorable, esteemed colleagues to maintain order in the House. I know because I sit on that side, and once you sit on this side, you realize how loud a whisper becomes when you're sitting on the chair. Before I begin the panel, I would like to introduce Mr. Jarvis Matea, the Deputy Secretary General and Director of Operations of the CPA. He is representing the Secretary General of CPA today at this conference. Mr. Matea joined CPA headquarters in 2017 with extensive experience in global justice, human rights, rule of law, gender equality, and governance. He has served as a special advisor to UN Women and Justice Human Rights Advisor at the Commonwealth Secretariat. He holds an LLM in Human Rights and Law from the University of London. Mr. Matea has also contributed to the Malawi government and the Malawi Human Rights Commission. I would like to request Mr. Matea to take the stage and brief this August gathering on the initiatives of CPA, global initiatives of CPA, and share his views on today's plenary's theme. Mr. Matea, if you could please take the dais. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmad, for that kind introduction. Good afternoon, honorable members. It's a great pleasure for me to stand before you today and to participate in this conference. And it's exciting to see that the two regions have been able to come together after a long time. Our hope is that perhaps this is a beginning of a new direction within which sometime in the future, perhaps we could have one region coming together as one. Let me thank our host, the Speaker of Punjab, as well as the Speaker of Pakistan, for the kind and warm hospitality that has been extended to the delegates coming here, and we look forward to enjoying our stay in the next couple of days. And all protocols observed, I think the moderator has asked me to share my thoughts in two aspects. One, on the general overview of the CPA and its relevance to you here today. And secondly, to look at the issue of how can we ensure that there's inclusivity, collaborative legislation to promote values which the CPA holds dear. So I'll start by saying that the CPA, as the Deputy Speaker has mentioned, is now at a crossroads where a decision has been taken, legislation has been passed to change the status of the organization, a thing which members within the CPA family have been asking for over 30 years. This provides an opportunity for us to reflect and look at the new direction in which we make our organization strong. And as part of that, we are reviewing our strategic plan of the CPA beginning 2026. And we have reached out to all the branches and members to come back to us with ideas and thoughts and suggestions on how the organization in this new status can be more responsive, can be more relevant, and can do more with the resources it has to serve the interests of parliamentarians and parliaments. This is your organization, this is your association, and we look forward to your responses to the call that we had sent out to our branches to give us our thoughts and review the current strategic plan. In the same manner, we also want to hear from you how we can communicate better. We are reviewing our communication strategy, and again, we wrote to all branches. We would like to hear from you how we think we can do this effectively. Are we giving too much information, or are we not giving enough information, or the way we are conveying our messages, is it productive? In terms of the work of the CPA, as you know, we work with parliaments to strengthen the capacity of that important institution, but also upskill members of parliament as well as staff. Members of staff of parliament are a very important resource of parliaments, and we also want to give attention to this. There are three networks within the CPA family. One is a network of women parliamentarians, the Commonwealth women parliamentarians. The other one is small branches network. This is a network of small legislatures coming from jurisdiction with a population of not more than 1 million. There are unique features of these small parliaments, and it is important for these networks to come together. The third one is more recent. It's Commonwealth parliamentarians with disabilities. And this also is important in the sense that it looks at the needs and issues relating to parliamentarians who are disabled. We will be doing work this year with all these networks, and over and above that, regions are supposed to ask for resources in terms of regional strengthening funds, which we provide in these 3 networks. In some of these networks, there's a lot of uptake. In other networks, there's not a lot of uptake. So I appeal to you that liaise with your regional secretaries in order for you to benefit from those regional strengthening funds in those 3 networks. The other area of work that we continue to do and which we have done in the last few years is self-assessment of parliaments using the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association benchmarks, which we developed a few years ago. These benchmarks are like a mirror within which your parliaments can assess themselves and see where you're doing well and where you're not doing well, what can be done to improve where there are gaps, and what sort of support can the CPA provide in this regard. I'm delighted that the Parliament of Sri Lanka will be doing that soon with our support from the Secretariat. My message is that we are here to support, and we offer that support to any parliament or legislature, whether it's a national parliament or a provincial or subnational. If they would like to assess themselves using the CPA benchmarks, we are quite happy to provide that support going forward. I now move on to the next segment of my presentation, as I know that my time is running out, and the moderator is gonna, 1 minute, yeah. So I mentioned the 3 networks that are relating to women, small legislatures, and parliamentarians with disabilities. The emphasis we provide in this network and the work that we do under it underlines the importance that the CPA looks at the issue of inclusivity. Over and above these 3 areas, we also look at the youth as an essential element of the work that parliamentarians do. One, in demystifying politics and bringing politics to young people. And secondly, to build a caliber of young people to participate in future development of their countries. And in line with that, we organize the Commonwealth Youth Parliament, which is an annual event, and we think that is one way of mainstreaming youth in our activity. Another area is accessibility, both in terms of physical accessibility to parliaments, but also accessibility in terms of the work that parliaments do. So both to those physically impaired, but also people who feel distant from the work of parliament. That is why a lot of parliaments are able now to be able to reach out to their public to know and to participate in the work that they do. So within the CPA, we are also beginning to think about human rights and to include human rights as one of the cross-cutting issues. With human rights, it brings issues of respect and understanding, issues of inclusivity, issues of equity and equality to ensure that we are all inclusive in our work. One important point which I should have mentioned earlier, as part of CPA's commitment to inclusivity, 2 years ago we amended the Constitution to insist that the composition of the Executive Committee members of the International Executive should be made up of 1/3 women. And also we amended the Constitution to ensure that delegates coming to the annual conference from each of the branch, provided that the branch is capable of producing 1/3 members, they should ensure that delegates coming to the CPC is composed of 1/3 women. Of course, we have delegations which are in branches which are entitled to one delegate, and so it's difficult to have 1/3. But I think these changes show you that the organization is moving forward to include gender in its operations. And I hope that with the new strategic plan that we're developing and with your inputs, you'll be able to come to us with ideas on how we can further and strengthen that work, but also other capacity building work that we provide to our members. Sorry, moderator, I've overrun by 1.5 minutes, but I thought I should buttress that point. Thank you very much for your attention.
Mr. Matea, for your enlightening points and for sharing the global initiatives of CPA. Commonwealth indeed is a unique gathering of nations where we all share a common history. The place that this conference is happening is also very unique and symbolic because this Charing Cross represented the power of the British Empire during the British Indian era, and this is the oldest assembly, one of the oldest assemblies of the region. With that, I would like to welcome on stage Ms. Zakia Shahnawaz Sahiba, who is serving her 6th term as a member of this House. I want to introduce her career in public service spans 47 years. She began her political career in 1965 and was first elected to the Punjab Assembly in 1977. She served as the Minister for Population Welfare and advised the Chief Minister in multiple tenures, and she spent a lifetime in public service. Before Madam Zakia Shahnawaz Sahiba starts her speech, for the panelists, I've been told that we need to squeeze this panel. So when your time is up, the cue is that I would be standing here at the podium, smiling and looking towards you. That means that your time is up. Thank you so much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Speaker, Punjab Assembly, Honorable Speakers, Deputy Speakers, Head of Delegation from Asia and South Asia region, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Anusha Rahman, Senator, Ms. Nusrat Ghani, Deputy Speaker, House of Commons, and the members sitting in the hall, and all the delegates and members of the Punjab Assembly, my greetings and my salams to all of you. Basically, I would like to speak on a few things, and that is about gender equality remains unfinished business in the world. Women and girls have access to education and health, but are not financially independent and are not given the role and decision-making in all levels. We are working towards those goals. Punjab has done much more to improve the lives of women. Measures range from legislation to empowerment of women and create jobs and in areas of education and health and mobile and internet access, etc., etc. Education for the girl is the most important number one, which we have to support, and the government of Punjab is fully supporting the education of the girl, female child. First women policy was made in 2012 and was announced on the 8th March 2012, International Women's Day. Women development, first I'll just do the headlines because there's a shortage of time, so it's better not to go into much details, but to just point out what has happened in the Punjab. Women Development Department was created, Commission on the Status of Women was formed, ombudsperson for the harassment of women was established. Policy for home-based workers was made. Laws were changed to give a 3 years extension to women for jobs application. In every department, a woman was recruited. Establishment for education for the girls could be full support from the government, as I said, and then there were laws were made to include women in their family inheritance. Revenue Act was made to include the female heirs. 33% women were included in all decision-making bodies. Nikah Nama, the marriage certificate, had to be registered, and the women had the right to divorce also. No child marriage was allowed. Violence against women and acid throwing will be punished under strict laws. All colleges should have a pick and drop service. All canteens in the colleges will be run by women. Scholarships will be given to girls on merit. They can go to universities abroad for further studies. All this was done by the Punjab government, and they are getting full support because the Chief Minister of Punjab is a woman, committed, dedicated, and a very dynamic person, Maryam Nawaz Sharif Sahiba, and she's doing her best for the lot of women. As you can see, we have a lot of women in the Punjab Assembly. I think it is 64, the amount is 64, and they are in the decision-making bodies. They are lawyers, engineers, doctors, and you can see their presence everywhere in Pakistan, and especially in the Punjab. And I would say that best practices should and we can adopt them and share them. A forum should be made so that we can further strengthen our programs and implement and then make more strongly. We should work under the CPA umbrella and share our success. Women's leadership is imperative, and if we wish to incorporate women's needs and requirements in our policies and programs, a woman leader is essential. Our CM Punjab is aware of the needs and is doing all her best to fill in the gaps. And I would just like to give you a little story of my childhood. It's a personal story which I would like to share. And that was when I was a little girl. One day we used to sleep under the stars. It would be summer nights, and we never had air conditioners during those days. So we could sleep under the sky and watch the stars and the moon. And my grandmother, I said, my granny, you know, you can see the moon. I am the moon. And the star is my brother because I'm number 1 and he's number 2 in the family. So automatically I have to be the moon and he has to be the star. So Granny said, no dear, he is the moon and you are the star. But I said, Granny, why? How come that I am the eldest? How can he be the moon? She said, you know, he's a boy. The boys are the moon and the girls are the stars. And I thought that was very unfair. Today, you see there are a lot of women in the world globally who have become the moon and the boys have become the stars. You can see Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand, the youngest female head of government when elected in 2017, Sanna Marin of Finland, the youngest Prime Minister, Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, and Bandaranaike of Sri Lanka, the first female Prime Minister, Benazir Bhutto, Indira Gandhi, ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh, and our CM, Maryam Nawaz Sharif, the largest problem of Punjab. She is the Chief Minister. And she is young and she has a long way to go. So we have left the stars behind and they have become the moons. So I hope and pray that young women are successful in life and they outshine. I don't want to say that we want to outshine you, but at least we should be on an equal level, equal facilities, equal gender, where we can walk hand in hand with our brothers, with our sons, and as I say, be successful for our countries. So that is, you know, one little thing I wanted to tell you, that how women are looked up But now times are changing, and I hope they will always change for the betterment of the women. The other thing I would like to say about the Christian community, in our constitution, the Christians have all rights and the minorities have all equal rights. Our leader, the Qaid, said after partition was made that all citizens have equal rights in Pakistan. Nobody is going to be deprived, so we are actually all equals. But where the community, the minorities are concerned, the government pays extra attention to them. For example, on Christmas, they are given grants. On Easter, they are given grants. On Holi, they are given grants. On Diwali, they are taken special care of. And in 2013, the Sikh Marriage Act was passed, first time in the world at Punjab Assembly. Hindu Marriage Act was passed. 5% of quota for minorities for grade 1 to 17 is ensured. Prisoners in jail get remission in jail on their occasions, on their religious occasions when there's a holiday, and the Muslim prisoners get remission, and so do the minorities get remission. Minorities card issued for financial assistance for the poor is there. Mass weddings are for the Muslims and for the minorities, so they all are sort of treated equally. Interfaith harmony, planning for minorities will be in the mainstream. This is the CM's vision for the future. Being a woman, being a dynamic leader, she is thinking far ahead of times to improve the lives of people in Punjab. I would like to say a little more where the youth is concerned, because we have the majority is youth in Punjab, and that is the younger generation is coming up, and we are focused on that. The Chief Minister Punjab is focused on the youth, and we have programs where the youth is taken in. There's a program called Khelta Punjab, meaning, Khelta means, when you take sports and all that. And for the first time, biggest sport complex, about 1,500 clubs and 120,000 athletes take part in it, and they are promoted, and the stadiums are made so that the youth can participate physically, and when you are physically strong, you are mentally strong. 52 new multi-purpose stadiums are being constructed, and computers give the brightest students, can I just have 1 minute more before I can just finish, Ahmed? And computers are given to the brightest students. They are given computers, they are given encouragement, and they are given a lot of scholarships where they can go abroad for the study, especially the poor, the underprivileged class, and the scholarships are given on merit. And on the end, I would like to thank the Speaker of the Punjab Assembly, of all the members of the delegates for coming to Lahore. I hope you enjoy your visit and you have a good time. There's a program, I think they've got a lovely program chalked out for you in the evening where you can see the walled city and the interior of Lahore. So my greetings again to all of you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be amongst you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Zakia Shahnawaz Sahiba. I also inherit a legacy of a woman politician, my grandmother, who was a member of the parliament when Zakia auntie started her career. And I think she set the stage for the next speaker, Senator Nusha Rahman, by talking about the challenges that we face in terms of gender inclusion, the challenges that we face in terms of creating an equal, just society that provides equal opportunities to all, that does not discriminate on the basis of our gender, on the basis of our ethnicity, on the basis of our religion. And that unfinished agenda is the North Star that all of us believe in our respective positions as elected members of assemblies. The next speaker is Madam Senator Ms. Anusha Rahman Ahmed Khan. She was elected to the National Assembly in 2008 and served as the Minister for Information Technology and Telecommunication. She has played a transformative role in Pakistan's digital revolution. Recently, in 2024, she was elected to the upper house, the Senate of Pakistan, and as she's a senator, she is also a lawmaker, but she is also by training a lawyer. And she is one of the few women who stand out in terms of bringing legislation that has really made an effort. And there is a lot of discussion about whether this system of reserved and quota seats has really worked for Pakistan. I think when you look at people like her, you can say affirmatively that yes, it has worked. It has brought about change makers. So I would also like for her to comment on that. And there is a lot of discussion around Pakistan being an over-legislated country. We've made a lot of laws, and sometimes the challenge is to keep up with the implementation of the laws. So I would like her to comment on legislative measures that have been taken by the National Assembly and the Senate on gender inclusion, on removing disparities, what have we covered so far, and what needs to be done in the future. And if you have more time, like a minute or two, how the digital divide with advancing technology, how digital revolution can actually bridge this gap. Senator Anusha Rahman, please give a big round of applause.
Assalamu alaikum, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, my honorable colleagues, the speakers, the deputy speakers, the heads of the delegations, my very dear Zakiapa, Madam Nusrat, and other panelists sitting here, Bilal, MNA, he's part of the EXCO, and Ahmed wants me to answer all his questions, and he decided to pose all his questions to me, and he allowed me only 5 minutes or less to find the answers and give the solutions. Well, Ahmed, thank you for the confidence. I think he's saying 2 minutes. So now, okay. So, honorable colleagues, today's discussion is revolving around what is collaboration and what is collaborative legislation for inclusive and equitable development. Now, collaborative legislation mechanisms, they are critical to ensuring inclusivity and democratic representation, particularly for the marginalized and historically unrepresented groups. For me, when I look at it, I feel, after working in my party for over 20 years, that empowering people to participate in decision-making, the processes that shape their lives, is the crucial first step towards creating an inclusive, just, and equitable society. But the second most important thing, which is the gist of my experience, is the element to recognizing care as a human right and a public good for both those who receive the care and those who give the care. That's what public life is about. You have to care about each other as humans, and then you go forward. Now, by empowering people to care for one another, this transcends the role to become active agents of change. And this is where the progress comes in. When you promote the well-being, and when you promote the women, when you promote the people with disabilities, when you promote the minority, when you promote the youth, when you promote the poor and marginalized communities, that's when the societies evolve, because the representation grows in the decision making. I learned from my political party, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, and I found them as a political party which allowed the representation of the women, representation of the minorities, representation from the youth, representation from people with disabilities to grow. And we saw that under the leadership of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, in his tenure as Prime Minister, in the tenure of Chief Minister Punjab, the legacy continued by Maryam Nawaz Sharif Sahiba. And we then also saw in the Federation, now Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, and before when he was the Chief Minister Punjab, how these segments were given a huge focus. The Women Empowerment Package that was given in 2012, Madam Zakia, you would remember, it laid the foundation for a 36-point agenda item for women empowerment. And we saw that over the years, in the last 13 years or so, the Women Empowerment Package that was given by Chief Minister Punjab at that time, Shehbaz Sharif Sahab, and today by Chief Minister Punjab, Madam Maryam Nawaz Sharif Sahiba, is gaining the momentum. And we saw that all the goals that we set in there, the legislative steps that were taken at that point in time, they turned into a reality. However, the challenge is, as Ahmed pointed out, that what is it that one feels remains a challenge. Our experience has shown that collaborative legislation, when it is properly structured, it serves as a powerful tool for inclusive development. But this collaboration has to extend beyond the traditional power structure that actively incorporate voices and that have historically been marginalized. So what do we do? How do we get in all the women who are more than half a population into the system whereby they have a voice by just when we add them in the legislative process by giving them the reserve seat? Does it actually answer the question? Does it really happen that that representation is just in numbers but not in substantive decision making? Is it that when we give a seat to the minority member in the House, is his opinion or her opinion is becoming part of the substantive decision making or not? So what we need to be sure of, that the youth, the women, the people with disability, the minorities, the people who are representing our demographic divides, all these people, their opinions, their views are incorporated in the substantive decision making to get the real results. Now, to enhance that, we need to, first of all, look at reforms in the parliamentary procedures. So once the laws are made, the implementation of those laws are critical for us to see the results. We are working to strengthen our committee systems. We are working to strengthen the comprehensive stakeholder consultations. We are focusing on engaging unrepresented groups. We are establishing, and in many cases, in many parliaments, we have established women parliamentarian caucuses, youth representatives, advocacy groups. We have done it for the minorities. We have worked with people with disabilities. But ladies and gentlemen, have we actually taken notes and taken the feedback from those people, that do they really think that their representation is truly marked by their voice being heard? And here comes the need for putting in more accountability mechanisms within ourselves to see that what is the satisfaction criteria which we feel should be met, has been met or not. We recognize that the effective collaboration requires a robust report system as well. We have seen that the structural barriers to participation, the cultural norms, they discourage engagement, the institutional practices that exclude certain voices are well known. We know these are our challenges. But we need a comprehensive approach that combines social reform with capacity building, awareness raising, and institutional strengthening. We need to make our parliamentary facilities more accessible, and we need to open the doors of these parliaments for the youth. We need to open the doors of the parliament for people with disabilities. We need to open the doors of the parliament for people who want to engage with the parliamentarians and give their feedback and their independent views onto how the parliament is functioning. So looking ahead, we are committed to further strengthening our collaborative legislative mechanisms. We are committed to enhance our monitoring and evaluation system to better track the impact of inclusive legislation, expanding our capacity building programs, deepening our engagement with civil society organizations and those that represent the underrepresented groups. I chair at the moment the Standing Committee of Commerce, and it has become actually a public platform. So when I am engaging with the private sector, when I'm engaging with the trade organizations, I find the government becoming more accountable. And in my view, we need to make our standing committees public platforms. And I also would like to say that the Senate of Pakistan, it reaffirms Pakistan's unwavering commitment to fostering truly inclusive collaborative legislation. We have a vision that the Parliament has to represent all segments of society in shaping the laws and governing the lives of those who matter. And by fostering collaboration across sectors and regions, we can transform global challenges into opportunities for sustainable and inclusive growth. And if this kind of a model is implemented within Pakistan and we learn from each other, and through international cooperation, I see that we can bring out the real change that we are looking for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Senator, for sharing your thoughts and ideas on how to strengthen collaborative legislation. And I thank all my speakers that they're making my job easy and setting the stage for the next speaker, because you've set the stage for the next speaker as well by talking about the role of committees. I think one of the thoughts that comes to mind when we talk about women representation, especially in the context of reserved seats and quota seats, is that political parties have to play a very important role in terms of the selection process. And I remember a conversation happening at a conference by SECP on how, on Pakistani public companies, women board members have made a huge difference. And one of the learnings was that companies have a very competitive method or a sense of very strong competition, so they bring the best talent on their boards. And I hope our political parties are also able to learn from the process, and this goes from strength to strength. The next speaker who I would like to invite is one of the members of our young revolution that is happening in all assemblies in Pakistan, a first-time member of National Assembly. He is also the Assistant Secretary General of the ruling party. Mr. Bilal Azhar Kiani was elected to the National Assembly of Pakistan in 2024 from NA60 Jhelum 1. He worked as an investment banker earlier in his life. So from a finance guru, he is now becoming a development guru, because he also chairs the SDG Secretariat, the prestigious chair at the National Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kiani is also a member of the CPA Executive Committee of Asia region. I would like you all to welcome him to share his thoughts.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My fellow panelists, Ms. Nusrat Ghani, Deputy Speaker of the UK House of Commons, Senator Anusha Rahman from the Senate of Pakistan, Ms. Zakia Shahnawaz Khan, Mr. Adnan Afzal Chattha, honorable members of the Punjab Assembly, Mr. Ahmed Iqbal Chaudhry, our moderator today, and Mr. Jarvis Matea, Deputy Secretary General of the CPA, honorable speakers, deputy speakers, honorable delegates, fellow members of the CPA family, friends from the media, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. I will try my best to stick to the time that has been allotted, which is 5 minutes, and as you speak, I'm starting the timer on my phone. I don't have a written speech as such, so I think that will make my job of sticking to the time easier. It's a privilege to be at this conference today, to be a part of this plenary session, and to have the chance to speak to all of you. It has been and remains my privilege to be on the executive committee of the CPA, where I had the chance to participate and contribute to the CPC, which is the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference, which was held in Sydney a few months back. I believe that the CPA is a very meaningful forum which can actually facilitate and has been facilitating true collaboration, which is very relevant to the topic we have today, which is collaborative legislation for inclusive and equitable development. We have made certain suggestions this morning in the CPA Asia Region Executive Committee on how the bonds can be strengthened further between the federal and state legislatures of the Asia region so that they can be mutual learning and experience sharing. But to come to the topic of today, more specifically, I would like to highlight two things that the CPA firstly is doing on collaborative legislation and inclusivity. At the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference every year, on the sidelines of the main conference, two separate workshops are held, one for women and one for people with disabilities, with a specific focus on legislation and resolution of issues affecting these segments of society. So I would like to commend that and highlight that here, as that is the topic of our discussion today. Secondly, I would like to highlight that one other initiative that the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Secretariat shared with us was an AI tool that is being developed in order to synthesize and compile all the legislations carried out by all parliaments of the Commonwealth so that we are all able to better learn from each other's legislative experiences and to draw on them when we draft our own. But coming to Pakistan now, I will just, in order to add to what has already been said and not to repeat anything, I would just like to highlight two roles, two specific aspects of our parliamentary process and how we try and ensure inclusion and a participatory process here. The first is through our standing committees. So in the National Assembly as well as the Senate, the lower and upper house at the federal level, we have standing committees which correspond to each of the ministries of the government. And as is the case everywhere, these are the committees that carry out the function of oversight over the government. Now, in these committees, any law that is proposed, any bill that is proposed either by the government or a private member, has to be referred to one of these committees. And those committees are the forums where deliberation is carried out section by section, clause by clause on the proposed legislation. That is also the forum where parliamentarians get a chance to invite members from different segments of society to gather their input and to include their thoughts and their suggestions and their arguments and counter-arguments in the legislative process. I've had a very recent experience of the last few days with respect to a tax bill that was proposed, where we had representatives from the private sector in addition to the government representatives and the honorable members of the Assembly in order to have a very holistic discussion and ensure that all views are included in the legislative process. In addition to the standing committees, one unique aspect that we have here in Pakistan are the parliamentary caucuses. So in addition to the standing committees, the National Assembly has 4 caucuses or parliamentary forums as we describe them, and they provide us an additional layer where we are able to focus on issues of inclusion and equitable and sustainable development. And they provide us a forum which is even more bipartisan than the standing committees themselves. I'll quickly name the 4 forums that we have. We have one caucus for women, we have one caucus for young parliamentarians, we have one caucus for child rights, and we have one caucus which is the Task Force for Sustainable Development Goals. We have a dedicated secretariat for this task force, and I have the privilege of being the convener of that task force. And the way in which these forums are able to contribute is that these forums allow us to really focus on aspects which relate to each of these issues. The Women Caucus has a very focused approach to considering legislation and raising issues affecting women across the country and ensuring that these issues then get raised in the standing committees and on the floor of the House. It is also a bipartisan forum where people from across party lines are able to leave their party debates outside and have a very focused and constructive conversation and outcome focused on ensuring inclusion and gender equality. Similarly, in the Sustainable Development Goals Task Force, we have subgroups, and the National Assembly of Pakistan was the first parliament, I believe, after the establishment of the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations, to establish a dedicated secretariat for the SDGs, which carries on to this day. We have bipartisan membership. We have 4 subgroups in this task force, each of which is headed by a different member of a different party, both from Treasury and opposition. And this has been replicated, I believe, across the provincial legislatures as well. In addition to this, I would also like to add, in order to echo what Ms. Zakia Shahnawaz and Ms. Anusha Rahman said, that the Parliament of Pakistan has formed a gender mainstreaming committee recently, which comprises of members of both houses in order to ensure a dedicated focus on gender mainstreaming and to ensure that this is reflected both in our parliamentary oversight functions and in our legislation. So with that, I would like to thank you all once again for your patience, your time and attention. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the Speaker of the Punjab Assembly and his team for being gracious hosts. And I would like to say welcome once again to our foreign delegates. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiani. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being such a great audience and for being so patient. I know post-lunch sessions are the most difficult ones, but I would like you to give yourself a huge round of applause for being a great audience. And I assure you that we are getting towards the end. I am being told that Honorable Speaker Malik Ahmed Khan is also going to join the panel. I would just like to share a couple of things, recent initiatives of the Punjab Assembly, especially with regards to the points made by Mr. Kiani, Senator Anusha Rahman. The provincial assemblies of this country obviously look up to the National Assembly and the Senate of Pakistan. And under the leadership of Speaker Malik Ahmed Khan, 2 major overhauls have happened in Punjab Assembly. The first one is that the Punjab Assembly has adopted the rules of procedures of the Senate and National Assembly as its rules. And this step has brought Punjab Assembly and its standing committees at par with the Senate and National Assembly of Pakistan. And the second step is that the Punjab Assembly, for the first time, has established a number of caucuses to give voice to special interest groups. The Women Parliamentary Caucus has been established and has already held its first meeting. The Youth Parliamentary Group has also been established and will soon be holding its elections. A special caucus has been formed for local government advocacy, and another caucus has been established for the far-flung areas, as we talk about areas or regions that are left behind. A Punjab Border Areas Caucus has already been established in the Punjab Assembly. Now, the next speaker on this panel and the last panelist, who is my colleague, we got elected together in the by-elections, but we also share one more thing, that we started our political journey together from local government. So Adnan has a lot of exposure to grassroots politics. That's where we all graduate. That's where we both graduated from. So ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Mr. Adnan Chattha, MPA, who is a member of the Punjab Assembly and the chairperson of the Specialized Healthcare and Medical Education Committee. He serves on key committees, including the Public Accounts Committee number 2 and the Committee on Law Reforms. He holds a Master's in Business Administration and an LLM degree, in addition to his legislative duties. Mr. Chattha is also the chairperson of the Task Force on Skill Development.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Ahmed, for your generous introduction. Honorable Deputy Secretary General of CPA, Mr. Matia, Honorable Deputy Speaker of House of Commons, Ms. Nusrat, Mr. Bilal Azhar, Member National Assembly, my elder and colleague, Ms. Zakia Shahnawaz, Member Provincial Assembly, Punjab, Senator Anusha, His Excellencies, Honorable delegation members, speakers, deputy speakers, colleagues from other provincial assemblies, National Assembly, my colleagues from Member Provincial Assembly, Punjab. Thank you. It's a privilege to welcome all of these foreign delegates to come to this house, and it's a great privilege to speak to all of you on this great occasion. My fellow panelist members have already spoken about the inclusion of women, minorities. I'll borrow the notion of my elder Zakia Shahnawaz of moons and stars. Punjab has a population of 150 million. 65% are youth bulge. They all are our moons and stars. And Honorable Chief Minister has a huge duty, being a chief executive, to hold the hands of these moons and stars and provide them an opportunity. I would like to elaborate the practices of Honorable Chief Minister and Government of the Punjab to include an equitable development for this youth. As you all are aware, youth are the future of any nation, but youth participation in legislation bodies remains subpar in many Commonwealth jurisdictions. What Government of Punjab is doing to promote inclusive and equitable development of this youth? We have different sections of youth in Punjab. Some of them are very fortunate. They reach to universities, they graduate, and they become employable. But then huge number of our young students, they complete their degrees, but their skills are not employable skills. It's a huge challenge for us. So Government of Punjab has reached out to them. We have identified 6 IT skills, including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data analytics, cloud computing, digital marketing, Python, and we are first time in the history of Punjab sponsoring international certified qualification to develop our youth so they can learn from the state-sponsored internationally certified IT qualifications and they can become employable. At the same time, we have millions of our children, they drop out from primary, they drop out from secondary education, and they have no future. For their inclusive and equitable development, which is the agenda of the CPA family, first time in the history of Punjab again, we are reaching out to them. We are starting these vocational construction-related skills courses. We are setting up state-of-the-art construction labs in 8 districts of the Punjab. where they will be taught these construction-related skills like plumbers, electricians, welders, scaffolders, steel fixers, tile fixers, bricklayers, so they can go to those vocational institutes for 3 to 6 months. They can learn those skills and then they can become employable. And their certifications are again internationally certified. We have a huge marginalized population of our rural young women. Punjab is geographically spread out. We have 36 districts and majority of them, they live in the rural areas. So once they make efforts to come to the cities, they probably complete their first degree. They cannot stay into the modern cities, urban cities, they go back to their villages. And then once they go back to their villages, there is nobody to hold their hands. Either they are married into their rural communities or they are just sitting in their rural communities without any opportunities. So Honorable Chief Minister of Punjab, in the first time in the history of the Punjab, has taken another initiative. This initiative is called IT Sport for Rural Women. We are starting this new initiative into all rural districts of the Punjab, where we will be sponsoring, empowering, and starting this IT course and communication course of 6 months, and we will be providing modern desktops and Wi-Fi device and 6 months course so they can become freelancer and they can become independent, so they can start their career from their homes as well. Similarly, Madam Chief Minister has first in the history of the Punjab, again this is unprecedented. I'm not repeating unprecedented and historic just for sake of saying, but first time in the history of Punjab, this new scholarship scheme is launched, where this scheme is called Honar Scholarship. The 30,000 students are given scholarship to study into private or public sector universities. And this scholarship is available to year 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if their degree is for 4 years, they will be given scholarship for all 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another issue in Punjab. You all must listen these news that one boat sank in the oceans of Libya or somewhere near Greece, where the young youth, Pakistani origin, gave their lives to reach to Europe. This is an embarrassment for us, and we are taking the serious notice of this. We have started to promote this, to discourage this irregular migration, where we have one hotspot area, people belonging to those hotspot areas because of the cultural reasons and other the trends of that region, they like to go abroad. So to discourage this irregular migration, we have started again, first time, a program which is called International Placement. Government of Punjab is reaching out to the international employers. First time in the history of Punjab, we have sent our different departments. They have taken part into this human resource exhibitions in Saudi Arabia, KSA, and other Gulf countries. And we have invited the employers to come to Pakistan. And then we are offering our graduates who are completing their degrees from our public sector, private sector, or vocational training institutes, and they are being recruited, and Government of Punjab is paying for their visa processes, for their additional training, and for their further arrangements as well. Again, to provide end-to-end solution of these millions, moons, and stars, and to achieve their dreams, Government of Punjab have started this Asan Karobar, which is a soft loan, interest-free loans for our young people. If they have a brilliant idea, if they have a doable business idea, Government of Punjab will fund them, lend them funds to start that business, so they can create opportunities for themselves and they can contribute into the development of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, as a parliamentarians, we are the custodians of the democracy and guardians of the public good. Our primary duty is to ensure that the laws we create are just, inclusive, and equitable. And throughout collaborative legislation, we can address the challenges of representation, strengthen legislative framework, and ultimately create those laws which empower underrepresented groups. Ladies and gentlemen, let us move forward together to build a future where every citizen of Commonwealth, parliamentary associations, delegates belong to, has a voice, where equal opportunities abound, and where inclusive development becomes the reality of all. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Adnan. And we wish you good luck with all the initiatives that you are spearheading on behalf of the Chief Minister, especially your role in skills development, because that could be a transformative tool in terms of bringing people out of poverty. While I was mentioning the caucuses that have been established at the Punjab Assembly, obviously these are all caucuses that are centered around those who are represented in the Assembly, those who can vote. But there is a large population in our country, those who don't vote, those who do not sit in the Parliament, and those are our children. And sometimes we lose sight of children in policy making, in legislation. And so there is a recent caucus that is being headed by Ms. Sara Ahmed, a children's rights caucus that has been established in Punjab Assembly and perhaps the first in Pakistan. I missed that, so I wanted to share that with the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I thank all the panelists and I request them to stay where they are. The Speaker, Punjab Assembly, will join us to conclude the panel, but I have another list of business before me. We will open the House for Q&A, but before that, there are interventions. Before that, we have some interventions from honorable speakers who are present in the House today. We have the Speaker of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we have the Speaker of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh, and we have the Speaker of the Selangor State Legislative Assembly who would like to make interventions. I would like to begin with Speaker Honorable Mr. Babar Salim Sawati to kindly take the podium and make his remarks. और कितने मिनट का है इनका?
औज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम इय्याका नअब्दु व इय्याका नस्तईन. Honorable Deputy Speaker, House of Commons, honorable panelists, dear respected and honorable colleagues, Assalamu alaikum. I will simply read the paper given to me by my office, and then at the end I will add a few words of my own. पहले ये पढ़ लेना, सरकारी बयान पढ़ लें. Assalamu alaikum. It is indeed an honor and privilege to address this August House, August Forum, and you all know that our region, especially my country and province, face turmoil on the parliamentary spectrum time and again. Because of the reasons, the parliament and assemblies are struggling for adoption of best practices of the world. Collaborative legislation for inclusive and equitable development is the most important intervention in the best parliamentary practices throughout the world. Collaborative legislation is the need of the day to transform our governance model by extending partnership to the long-forgotten, marginalized communities, civil society, Chamber of Commerce, and relevant nations with the government. By giving room to the idea of collaborative legislative strategies in our region is the most relevant due to the ground realities of our country. As a socio-economic disparities Regional diversity and the lack of access to justice can play a vital role. The voice of marginalized communities, women, children, youth, religious and ethnic minorities, and persons with disabilities cannot be ignored, and any legislation and policy planning ignoring these vital segments of the society is considered unrepresentative and against the spirit of the democracy. I am pleased to inform this August Forum that adhering to this spirit of inclusivity, we have instituted Parliamentary Women Caucus, Young Parliamentarians Forums, Child Caucus, and Parliamentary Task Force on Sustainable Development Goals in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Assembly, ensuring our Provincial Assembly outreach and connect with the people. ये भी कहते हैं तो छोड़ देते हैं जी अहमद साहब ये भी कहते हैं तो छोड़ देते हैं क्या कहते हैं आप कहते हैं तो छोड़ देते हैं नहीं कहते क्योंकि उसमें कोई ऐसी बात नहीं है if you don't want us to speak okay ठीक है जी The Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Assembly celebrated the International Day for Child on November 2024 by opening the Assembly Hall to the children below the age of 18 and organized Children Parliament. This brought focus on the issues pertaining to our children and enabled the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government to take measures for safeguarding our future, our children. Ladies and gentlemen, you are well aware that the legislators are guided in their functions through Constitution, rules of procedures, standing orders, rulings, directives of the speakers. This call for our rules to ensure the spirit. Parliamentary tools like hearing public petitions, ensuring direct public engagements through live airing of Assembly and committees proceedings are now the need of the hour. The Provincial Assembly of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is actively working on reforming its rules in line with the modern best parliamentary practices. We are doing all this as we witnessed in the documentary, a remarkable documentary presented by this August House. We are carrying the legacy of the colonialism, and we still have to go far beyond. As Ahmed is very conscious, so I will leave this topic. मैं simply इतना कहूँगा कि हमने अभी बहुत सारा सफ़र तय करना है. अंग्रेज़ ने और ब्रिटिश सरकार ने जब ये सिस्टम डिज़ाइन किया तो मैडम डिप्टी स्पीकर इस सिस्टम में जो सबसे कमज़ोर कड़ी थी वो पार्लिमान था. बाकी अदारे उसने बड़े पावरफुल बनाए टू कंट्रोल द पीपल. सिर्फ पार्लिमान को उसने बहुत कमज़ोर रखा. इस ज़मन में हमने बहुत सारी अभी करनी है. आप देखते हैं कि बहुत सारी पाबंदियाँ हैं. पीका एक्ट आ गया है. इसी तरह की मतलब सियासी पार्टियों पर पाबंदियाँ हैं. ये सारी चीज़ें हम जब पार्लिमान को मजबूत करेंगे तो ये सारी चीज़ें भी ठीक होंगी. मैं आप सबका बड़ा मशकूर हूँ. थैंक यू वेरी मच आल जी.
So much, Honorable Speaker of KPK Assembly. मेरे ख्याल में स्पीकर साहिबान मेरी मजबूरी को समझ सकते हैं कि मैंने टाइम कीपिंग करनी है.
As it is scheduled, sir, please. It has to go as it is scheduled. Please.
I would like to, for the next intervention, I would like to invite our guest from Malaysia, Speaker Honorable Lau Weng San, to make his remarks.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, honored guests, and esteemed colleagues, thank you for the organizer and the Master of Ceremonies, the Honorable MPA, to invite me to be part of the interventions or interventor. Truly speaking, I just now try to clarify again with my secretary, or I think in the UK we call it the clerk of the House, to further understand what is the meaning of interventions. But I guess interventions will be something that will carry some experience sharings as well as questions, not only for the panelists to answer, but also for all the audience to be reflected upon returning to your respective legislature. Of course, before I continue, I would like to express selamat petang, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, kepada semua perwakilan, kepada tuan-tuan speaker dan puan-puan speaker, dan juga puan-puan dan puan-puan timbalan speaker. Salam Malaysia Madani, salam kita Selangor, and a very good afternoon to all of you. I spoke a little bit just now in my national language, and I think after listening to the speeches from all the panelists, especially and including remarks and opening remarks from the honorable speakers, I do have a much clearer picture towards the conference. I think before I was actually very excited when we were invited to attend to the conference organized by the State Assembly of Punjab. I will try to be speaking within the time limits for myself. And I didn't put much thoughts upon registering for this conference. I was a 3-term assemblyman in my legislature. I was elected as a speaker in 2024. Couldn't have a chance to attend any CPC since then, only capable and managed to attend some workshop. It would be a custom if we have to break for a while for the azan. Thank you. Yes, with your permission, Honorable Speaker, I would like to proceed. Thank you. Now, until I came across an article published by the parliamentarian, and I think for the Honorable Speaker, Malay Muhammad Ahmad Khan, I think I've spoken to you briefly just now. I saw and I read your articles. And for those who have not read it, I think it's a good article. It's a summary of all the reform agendas that your Assembly has undertaken ever since your appointment as the Honorable Speaker of the House. And I think for Selangor, it is something that we have embarked on since 2008, approximately 17 years ago. That was also the time when I was first elected as a very young state legislative members of the House of Selangor. And that was also the first time in the history of our nation building that there is a change of government at that level. We have 5 states we've witnessed a change of government. I would say not 5 but 4, but there was one state from Kelantan which has been ruled by the opposition since 1990. But on top of that, in 2008, it was a big change. In 2008, 4 small states have changed the government. The federal government, the ruling coalitions lost the 2/3 majority in the federal parliament, in the House of Commons of the Malaysia Parliament. And that actually kickstarted a very robust reform on our legislature. It started with the activations or the formations of many select committees, which is the backbone of the parliamentary oversight in our legislature. I think this is the first, if you are talking about how inclusive or proactive legislature is, I would say the formation of select committees is one that is very, very important. At Selangor, in Selangor State Legislature, we have 56 legislative members. Out of 56, 11 are front benchers, which means the chief ministers is the leaders of 10 state ministers in the Selangor State. After minusing 11 front benchers from the 56 members of the House, we have 45, of which 21, as of now, is from the oppositions. We have 1 independent members, and the remaining 23 are the government backbenchers. So we have actually this time almost equal amount of backbenchers and oppositions, and of course that makes our legislative assembly more attractive. We were expecting to be more robust and engaging in debate. We formed 10 committees, and of these 10 committees, 6 are special select committees and select committees which were given the power to conduct hearing, both closed door and open hearing. I have made a bit of changes to the code of conduct or the term of reference of 2 of the special select committees, in which one of the select committees, which was formed previously to provide parliamentary oversights on poverty eradications, was renamed by me with the approval from the House to conduct parliamentary, legislative oversight on climate change, welfare, health, education, family development, religion, women and well-being. Almost every single thing that we have discussed just now. This is a very special select committees that we have formed in Selangor, and is led by a female. We have, just now I said, 6 select committees and special select committees. Out of 6, 2 are led by female representatives. We must notify that in Selangor, although we have 56 members of the House, but we have a slightly reduced female representations after the general election or the state elections in 2023. Before 2023, I would say in 2018, That general elections produces with 12 female representatives in Selangor. And in 2023, the number was reduced to 9. As speakers, of course, I can't control who to be nominated by the political parties as candidates and how the peoples will decide to be their elected representatives. But even though with 9 female representatives, I try my level best to put them into various committees and select committees. If you have a look at our assemblies, out of 10 committees that we have, which includes 6 special and select committees, each female elected representatives or member of the House are given more than 2 memberships in each of these select committees. And I would say that will help to bring up more voices from the women communities in the legislative so that we will have a more balanced view in the House. And on top of that, we also, for those who are very particular or interested in the Malaysian politics, you must have known that I think in 2021 or 22, we have lowered the voting age from 21 years old to 18 years old. That, of course, produced a lot of young voters in our country. Being part of the effort to engage young voters, Selangor has started as early as in 2013 a program named Program Adun Muda, or Young Elected Representatives Programs. In fact, that was a very good program that we have continued to do so, even after COVID. The last was held last year. We'll continue to do it this year, which we engage young parliamentarians or young state assemblymen to come over to the House and debate on real issues. They will be debating on motions to be decided by them, and the motions upon decided will be brought forward to the real sitting of the House for further discuss and decisions. We do not stop there. We have continued to engage the State Minister for Women Affairs. Last year, in 2024, December, we have a Sidang Wanita Selangor, or Siswanis, which is another version of our youth parliamentarian program, except that this time we are opening it only for female representative, and we are doing it as part of the executives program to engage the female to be more participative in the legislature process. These are the experiences that we think we can do in many legislatures. I think some of your legislature are already doing that. But nevertheless, we would like to share with you that, and I think after reading the writing by Honorable Manik Muhammad Ahmad Khan, we are further engaged or determined by the writing that I think this is the right path for us to move forward. I have recently paid a visit to my counterpart, the speakers of the Penang State Legislative Assembly, Dato Sri Utama Loh Chu Kian. He is not here. I think his deputy speaker is here with us. We are discussing many aspects of our state legislature, whereby I think he spoke to me one very important sector, that is on budget control. Budget control is something that is very much lacking throughout the legislatures in Malaysia. I think if you see other countries, including the non-Commonwealth countries, they are more proactive. Budgets is actually, they are going through a very vigorous and robust discussions, which includes both sides of the House before it was finally tabled in the House for approval. But in Malaysia, it's different. I think we need to do a lot more better than that so that the state legislative members will have more control as to how that can be done. And I think this is something that we have to move on to work. In Selangor, we also have indigenous people. Currently, we do not have any representative from the indigenous people. Perhaps we need to think about how to make it happen by amending the relevant constitutions and standing orders to allow the voices of the indigenous communities are heard. These are something that I think we can reflect upon. I thank again the organizer for the program today. I would really hope that the speeches, the great speeches, some of them were read from prepared text, can be distributed to all the participants so that we'll be able to implement some of the good suggestions when we return to our legislature. I thank you for the time and effort and patience, and I wish all of you will be able to contribute more to our communities and our societies. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Speaker San. Before I move forward, I have an announcement to make on behalf of the CPA Secretariat. For those parliamentarians and legislators who are interested in information relating to the CPA strategic plan, it can be found at the CPA website. And free online courses for parliamentarians are offered by the CPA through their website. When I was elected as chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, one of the most useful resources was the CPA library, and I encourage you all to check that out. Next intervention we have, and this is the last intervention, I'll open the House for question and answers, and then the Honorable Speaker of Punjab Assembly will conclude this session. The last but certainly not the least, Speaker Honorable Syed Awais Qadir Shah. He was elected to the Provincial Assembly of Sindh in 2013. He is passionate about new technologies. As Minister of Transport, he started EV buses in Sindh. He has a background in civil engineering and is a dynamic young speaker in the Provincial Assembly of Sindh. Please give him a round of applause, which you already have. Thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Malik Muhammad Ahmed Khan, Honorable Deputy Speaker, House of Commons, Honorable all the speakers, CPA representatives, chairpersons, distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It's an honor and a privilege to address this distinguished gathering at the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Joint Conference. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Speaker of Punjab Assembly and his team to organize this inaugural joint CPA conference. As the Speaker of Sindh Assembly, I stand before you as a representative of my province and as a voice for millions who look to us as their elected leaders to create a world that is fair, inclusive, and equitable. This plenary session compels us to strengthen the representation of women, youth, persons with disabilities, and minorities in our societies. Across our region, we face convergence of challenges, cultural and social barriers that excludes marginalized groups from political participation, economic inequalities, limits opportunities for growth and empowerment, institutional weaknesses that fails to guarantee fair representation, climate change and urbanization that aggravates disparities, political polarization that hinders collective action. These challenges demand a unified and strategic response. To advance this inclusive and equitable development, we must embrace legislative reforms by enacting laws that promote gender equality, protect minority rights, and ensure accessibility for persons with disabilities. Capacity building and empowerment that requires training and mentorship programs to enable underrepresented groups by engaging in political processes. Economic inclusions by investing in education, employment, and social protections. Climate resilient development. For this, sustainable urban planning, renewable energy promotion, and environmental conservation. Collaborative governance by strengthening regional and international cooperation for shared solutions. My province's commitment to inclusive development is the Sindh government has also formed the Women Caucus, Minority Caucus, Young Parliamentary Forums, and SDGs task forces. Measures for gender equity, enactment of the laws with capacity building, programs for prosecutors, judiciary, and including training on transgender rights. Protection of minority rights, legislative measures to protect minority rights and ensure equal access to service. On minority, I have to say something. The vision of Pakistan People's Party's leadership is that in the history of Pakistan, first time Deputy Speaker of Sindh Assembly, Anthony Naveed, is from Christian community. Jail reforms, implementation of the Sindh Correction Services Act, making Sindh the first Asian Legislative Assembly to adopt such measures. Sindh Prosecution Roadmap 2025-2030, developed with the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crimes, addressing gaps in criminal justice system with a focus of transgender rights and human trafficking. Empowerment of specially abled persons, the Act of 2014 ensured their welfare and employment opportunities. Sindh Human Rights Commission strengthened access to justice through legal aid, mapping and training initiatives. Social welfare programs focused on education, healthcare, and skill development for marginalized communities. Key institutions driving these efforts, including the Women Development Department, Youth Affairs Department, Sindh Human Rights Commission, Sindh Differently Abled Persons Department. These initiatives underscore Sindh's dedication to inclusive governance. This is a call for action. We have to unite, and let us leave this conference not just with a resolution, but with a renewed sense of purpose. Foster cross-border partnerships and multi-stakeholders engagements to share best practices and innovative solutions. In strengthening regional and international cooperation to address shared challenges, for the challenges we face are immense, but so is our power to make a difference. In words of the CPA Secretary General, he is not here with us, inclusive representation is not just about the numbers, it's about ensuring that every voice has a power to shape policies and decisions. Let us commit to ensuring our parliaments truly reflect the diversity of our societies, fostering a world where every individual, regardless of gender, age, ability, or background, can live with dignity and freedom. I end with the word of late Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto, the youngest first female Prime Minister of Pakistan, that democracy needs support, and the best support for the democracy comes from other democracies. I would especially like to extend my warmest congratulations to my esteemed brother, Malik Muhammad Ahmad Khan, on this momentous achievement as the Speaker of Punjab Assembly, hosting the first joint Asia and Southeast Asia CPA conference is a visionary and courageous step, reflecting his unwavering commitment to reshaping global perception of Pakistan at a time when the world often misunderstands Pakistan, associating it with unwarranted stereotypes. This landmark initiative serves as a powerful platform to showcase the true essence of our nation. Pakistan is not only a land of rich culture, history, and unparalleled hospitality, but also a peaceful and welcoming country that values unity and progress. By highlighting these qualities on such a prestigious stage, you are challenging misconceptions, dispelling myths, and presenting Pakistan's positive contribution to the world. Your efforts to foster mutual understanding, strengthening diplomatic ties, and promote a brighter, more accurate image of our beloved nation are both commendable and inspiring. May this conference pave the way for greater collaboration, goodwill, and a renewed appreciation for Pakistan's warmth, resilience, and commitment to peace. Thank you, and may our deliberation here pave the way for brighter and more inclusive tomorrow. Thank you very much for your patience hearing. You are a lovely audience. God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Sindh Assembly. And one of the things I think that today we are lucky to have the speakers of all 4 provinces also present in this conference. I think there is also the need to collaborate more internally within the country. Our 4 legislatures can learn a lot from each other. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Now, I would like to open the floor. This is, after all, a panel discussion. Even though we're not sitting, we're standing. There are technical reasons for that. So I open the House. If there are any questions, can you please raise your right hand? And okay, so we have a question right at the back and one at the front. We'll take the young lady at the back first. Is that okay? And then come forward. Please introduce yourself. I think mic wale kidhar hai, inka seat number.
Assalamualaikum. I'm Laila Hassan. I'm an intern at the PDU office. I have a question for Ma'am Zakira Shahnawaz. I only wanted to ask, why are there no NGOs or organizations created for the awareness of the youth, as we see a rise in issues related to women's safety, especially when we live in an era access to a wide/uncensored media?
Yeah, you just put your question slowly.
All right, no issues.
We understood.
I just wanted to ask, why are there no NGOs or organizations created for the awareness of youth, as we see a rise in issues related to women's safety, here in Punjab especially, in an era where we have a wide access to an uncensored media?
In every district, division, and tehsil level, they are all, they're should I sit here? Thank you so much. As I was telling you, that the youth, where the youth are concerned, it's every division, every tehsil, and every district where they have these people, the younger generation. They have their own organizations where, as I tell you, there were stadiums are being made in every tehsil, in every district, and in every division where there are these Khelta Punjab. And this is taking place all over Punjab, and gradually, as I told you, there are about 55 more stadiums that are being constructed, and the ones that are there are being renovated, so they are coming into use. Secondly, there are also NGOs working. It's not that there are no NGOs. There are volunteers and NGOs who are taking interest in the youth of Punjab. And secondly, things are being done on merit. Where the education is concerned, it's all on merit. They are getting scholarships, they are getting laptops, and they are even being sent abroad to visit foreign universities. Not only just universities, but Ivy League universities. In the time of Shehbaz Sharif Saab, there were groups which would go, and another group would take place and go around Europe and visit the universities. And they were girls, inclusive, and so were the boys. It was just not male, it was both the genders. And as I told you, the Chief Minister of Punjab recently went to all universities of Punjab. She went to the division level. She didn't visit the district level as yet, but she went to all the divisions where she had gathered all the students, gave them scholarships. There were about 30,000 scholarships that she's giving in Punjab, plus another 20,000, there's a proposal for another 20,000, so it's like 50,000 scholarships. Plus they are giving laptops, and that is a big encouragement. They started at the time of Mian Shahbaz Sharif also, and it's continued now till this day. And a lot of loans are being given to the youth, and to encourage them to move forward, skill development, education, and as I tell you, the top priority of this government is the youth, because they are the majority now. It's like about, I would say, about 60% youth in the Punjab.
Thank you. If you want more information, or if you would like to connect, we have a parliamentary development unit here in the Assembly. They will guide you to all the resources that are available if there is a specific issue that you want to advocate. I will come to the guest at the front. Sir, please, if you could introduce yourself and pose your question. The mic, please turn on the mic. Yes, it's on.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Muhammad Fuad Zarkashi. I am the Speaker of the Johor State Assembly. I have a short question to Honorable Nusrat Ghani, Deputy Speaker of UK. Can you please share with us what are the best practices in UK in strengthening the role of the youths in the decision-making process?
Well, to ensure that we can legitimately represent our constituents, we have to make sure we're representing older and younger constituents, and elections come around every 4 years. So if you're not catering to the younger population, 18 and under, who influence their friends and their family, you're not going to get their vote once they are 18 and over. So we have a number of outreach programs that are organised in Westminster, in Parliament, as well as us organising themselves in our constituencies. So in Parliament, we have a youth parliament, which involves members or constituents across the whole country, and participating, competing, debating, and then coming up to the parliamentary building like this and taking it over and suggesting policies that come forward as well. But we also, through all of our select committees, make sure that we're reflecting the next generation's needs. So I was on the Homeland Security community. So as well as looking at policing in my neighbourhood, we looked at how do we ensure that policing is working with young people. When I was working for business and trade, is how do we ensure that we are enabling young people to set up businesses and then export their goods overseas. We don't exclude young people, we make sure they're included through every element of work that we do. So that's through our select committees, work is done centrally through Parliament. We also have a really stunning educational centre where schools come through day in, day out and have access to MPs, ministers and select committee members as well. As a constituency MP, because I'm elected by my constituents, I spend my weekends and weekdays, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays in my constituency. And a huge proportion of my work means that I visit my schools, my colleges, my youth centres, my job centres, and also local initiatives where young people are congregating, whether it's sports activities or debating initiatives. So a huge amount of interaction takes place. My details are available, how to contact me. We have a huge amount of contact from young people as well. The reality is that elections come around every 4 or 5 years. We need to make sure we're communicating with the next generation of voters. And the broader reality for modern liberal democracies is we have to continually work to be relevant, to stop young people seeking representation elsewhere, whether it's on their social media platforms or political parties which aren't going to observe democratic norms and rules. So work takes place locally and nationally as well. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Madam Deputy Speaker. We are short on time. We would like to conclude this panel discussion and Honourable Speaker, Punjab Assembly will conclude it.
My apologies from the Honourable delegates and participants, because we are already sitting late on the time. My sincere apologies, and all the delegates will have time for questions and answers in tomorrow's plenary sessions, which we'll be holding side by side in 2 different venues. just adjacent to this hall, and people will get chance to ask the questions. My sincere thanks to all the delegates, those who made this thing happen today. They have traveled, as I, in my opening remarks, thanked everybody who came from far and near, those who have traveled across the country, those who have traveled across the region, and from East Asia also. Ladies and gentlemen, I just need to share 3 things before the conclusion of today's session. Tomorrow we will be having, the agenda has been shared with you, we'll be having plenary sessions and interactive sessions tomorrow in which the local government, the AI, and the programs settled for the agenda that is shared with you, and you will be having your moderators and the people will be speaking in that. I will just take a minute to share my experience, and which I think speaks in volumes. The whole project of democratization is about public. It is about people. As the Honorable Nusrat Ghani rightly said, that she interacts in her constituency with the different group of people, going from hospitals to schools to colleges, interacting with youth. That's the basic sense of it. It is the access of public to this house. Now, in this age of digitalization today, we cannot conceive a democratic house, a public representative house, which has no public interaction. So we have taken the pains to issue a parliamentary calendar of sittings, which will interact with the universities. We will be having a regular presence of the universities. We have, with the help of the National Assembly, of course, they were the primary and the lead takers in that. They asked to offer the parliamentary studies as a particular course in the universities. And I take a sheer moment of pride in this, that in 1 year, this House collectively, because this House approves of these things, which I'm just going to mention and list up, collectively, this is the decision of the House when they decide. Public access to the committee hearings via live telecast. If any committee which is going to stop the live telecast, there has to be some matter of security and sensitivity attached to it. Otherwise, other than that, the whole proceeding goes live and it is telecasted through the conventional media, the digital media, live broadcasting of the House proceedings, mandatory publication of the committee reports. It has never been the part of our parliamentary proceedings. Prior to this, this House started on the 8th of February, and since then, every single report of the committee meetings is documented, which there was a usual practice, but it is published for public, and opinion is invited on that. The old Assembly Hall, the monumental hall, which we just showcased in that documentary which we presented before you, it is a 100-year-old building. That is open for public now. We have interactive sessions with the civil society. We invite the civil society, we invite the local government people, we invite the caucuses on the women empowerment, the civil society and the NGOs, as my young lady at the corner asked Madam Zakia Shah Nawaz, that what the NGOs are doing for the safety of the women, those who participate into the public events. Yes, there is a concern for that, and we are taking care of it. And we have recently formed a caucus, which is now having the backing of a statute. They are in our procedure, and those recommendations which they give to the House or vis-a-vis to the government, they have a certain amount of force to be implemented. There have been certain structural, procedural changes also. When we started this House, in this term, I have been member of this House since 2002. I have been advocating for bringing in more empowerment for the elected people, more inclusiveness of the elected people, more say of the public to their elected representatives. Opening up this House, I have been raising my voice as a member of opposition. I have been raising my voice as member of the cabinet on several occasions, and we formed a group here. We then lobbied for it, and then we brought our procedures at par with the National Assembly. We brought the best practices from the House of Commons documents. We brought the best practices from our neighboring India, from neighboring everywhere where the regions of this Commonwealth Parliamentary Association have this type of parliamentary Westminster model, which to us is a real solution for the people's concerns. Now, we have made task forces for those marginalized communities which this House thought are actually marginalized and their voice needs to be heard. A task force on sustainable development goals. We aim that by the end of the time which has been given to us, to all different parliaments, whether maybe regional or provincial, they're working with the CPA, that there should be an equitable governance model for all inclusive equitable governance model. So we have formed that task force here. One of our young dynamic members of this assembly, Mr. Osama, Barrister Osama, is leading it. He's available in the House today. Punjab Local Government Caucus, they are actually working for the self-government. They are putting their best resource to give the direction that the political empowerment, financial empowerment, and that would be given at the best at the local level. There's the Parliamentary Caucus on the Child Rights. There's the Women Parliamentary Caucus. There's the Parliamentary Caucus on Border Area Rights. There has been a lot of discussion that the armed forces, where they are given the duties for security, often civil life is disrupted with their regulations. So we have formed a caucus here which will safeguard the rights of the civilians in those areas where there are border areas laws implemented. Green and Disaster Risk Reduction Caucuses, Parliamentary Caucus for Children with Disabilities, Minorities Rights Caucus, Young Parliamentarian Forums, and these all caucuses have been housed, they have been given the statutory right support, and they are working. Establishment of Parliamentary Development Research Center. In your parliaments, I believe this would be the case, but we were lacking it. Now, each of our members here has a secretarial support staff. Those research units are the law graduates. They are 14 in number, equal to 10 constituencies. They provide their support for their legislative drafting. They provide their support for their whatever business or effective use of parliamentary tools to make the working more effective, so meaningful for the public and result-oriented. We have hired the communication experts to enhance citizen engagements. We have paid internship programs, I've earlier mentioned. Punjab Assembly YouTube channel and social media platforms have been created recently. Inauguration of an open assembly dialogue series have been created, and we have held 7 series till date today in last 8 months. On average, 1 dialogue a month in which different issues of priority, issues of concern have been discussed with civil society, with academia, with the people from the faculties of the universities. They have all been invited here, and that dialogue is happening. And we have enabled the access of members of the public to the Punjab libraries here in this building. A state-of-the-art new library which could be accessed by the public has been opened here. We have made the strategic plans for Punjab Assembly, that amendments which I've earlier mentioned, and I, as a speaker, have devolved more than 32 powers vested in the chair of speaker. I have devolved them to the standing committees. Virtually, the speaker's chair or the speaker's office was similar to a demigod. It could just like say no to anything, and that no would be a no. I have devolved all those powers and given it to the right people, to the standing committees, to make their own decisions. And I know the wheel could not be turned back. Parliamentary forums have recognized the changes we have made in these procedures. So a list of things, I don't want to bore you and don't want to take your more time, but I have made it mandatory that there would be inclusion of women members in the standing committees. At least 2 of them would be made the members of the standing committee. We have empowered them to the best. We have established a special committee on law reforms. We see that there is some anachronistic law which is not helping, as our own procedures were. We just changed the 72 rules. We sat for more than 100 hours of very detailed, exhaustive meetings. Both the sides of the leader of the opposition was the member of that, and Minister for Law was the member for that. And finally, we came up with the document, which to our understanding would be more effective for deliverance to the people. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude, I must take this opportunity to thank you all, and the document which we will prepare as Lahore Charter, the essence of that document, the equitableness of it, the sustainable model of that, would be the deliverance for people of our respective countries and provinces. I am sure that Lahore Declaration will contribute in true sense that we actually deliver for the welfare of people. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully.
Thank you very much. I'm just